Hello, here is Muho from Osaka, today with
Itei.
Itei.
Yeah, originally Antaiji and now Toshoji temple.
Toshoji in Okayama.
Yeah, yeah.
And where are you from originally?
From Kyrgyz Republic, quite small country which were Soviet Union back then, and I've studied physics there for a while and then studied physics in Moscow for a while, and then it happened that I came to Antaiji.
Kyrgyzstan is, I think, in Central Asia. It's bordering to Russia and...
It's not bordering to Russia.
No?
No.
No, there's no border with Russia.
There is a Kazakhstan in between.
I see. Kazakhstan, it's bordering to China?
Yeah. China,
And
Kazakhstan,
in the south?
a number of stans like Uzbekistan.
Turkmenistan?
No, I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a big country?
Not really.
Not really,
Yeah,
but
quite
compared to
small.
Japan, is it bigger or smaller than Japan?
It's probably smaller.
Oh.
But the population is like 5 millions.
5
Very,
millions.
No,
So
small
that's
in terms of population and probably like half of
half the size.
Yeah, and it's mostly mountains as well.
So there's not really much green, like forests or fields or stuff.
Well, it's the mountains are kind of green.
Ah, green mountains. Okay, it's not like a desert or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay. And you studied physics.
yeah,
Also in Moscow, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
And then you came to Antaiji directly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
No,
Why?
That's a good question. Well, I liked doing meditation and things, and I liked reading Kurosawaki as well, although it kind of contradicts each other.
I
in a
think
way.
I remember you told me once you said 10 hours or even more alone
Yeah,
when you were
yeah,
a student, or when did you start with meditation?
So I started with meditation at high school,
Mm-hmm.
maybe in the beginning of university, and like depending on how busy I was, it was more of meditation, less of meditation. Not so much in the most of the cases, but anyways. And in Moscow, well, it was a new environment in a way, so the amount of meditation increased significantly, and after the first year of studying I had a little break, and during that time I had an apartment rented, and I tried to do some kind of sessions there.
Yes.
But
By yourself,
yeah,
alone?
yeah.
Mm.
Also, if you try to sit as much as possible, it happens that you sit 10 hours a day in some time, and 12 hours a day or more you are sleeping. So you sit whenever you cannot sleep anymore.
I see. How did you get interested in meditation when you were a high school student? Were there anybody around you with that was meditating, or was it books, or?
Yeah, it was mostly books. One person I knew, he wasn't really into meditation or anything, but he gave me a book about self-hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
I tried that one, and on certain occasion, like among, how would you call it, increasing the general awareness about what's happening in general in culture. I read some like psychology books,
Mm-hmm.
some philosophy books, and some books on meditation as well. Like probably it's the usual one for people in the Western countries to read as well, like Alan Watts, who was it, Shinryu Suzuki, whoever else.
Mm-hmm. A couple of weeks ago I interviewed Myogen, a German monk that's also originally from Antaiji. I think he came a little bit before you. And he's kind of featured in an NHK documentary. It tells the story of Myogen, but also 4 or 5 other monks that were at Antaiji at the time, and also your part
Yeah.
of that documentary. And I think there you said for you there were only 2 kind of alternatives, Zen or suicide.
Yeah.
So you were pretty kind of dedicated. If it's not Zen, there's only suicide left.
Yeah.
So was Zen the right choice, or do you still, I don't know,
Well,
quite sure?
I wouldn't complain right now. I don't know about the future.
So the question is not solved yet?
I mean, it's solved for now. I mean, probably it cannot be like completely solved for any person.
I see, I see. Because I mean, the documentary, it's a little bit funny. They show you that after Rohatsu's session, you announce, "Now I'm leaving."
Yeah.
I'm leaving. But then I don't know if the viewers of the documentary realize in January they can see you digging the snow in front of the Anaguda.
Exactly.
And nobody explains in the documentary, well, he's supposed to leave.
The most people probably wouldn't distinguish, but anyways, yeah.
So you left Antaiji, I think even a couple of times.
Well, I kind of left it once,
Yes.
then returned in a couple of days.
Yes, and
And
what
then-
did
yeah,
Tosho-san say, the Eko-san? Was she happy that you came back, or?
Well, it's the first time it was kind of okay. If you come back, then you come back.
Yes.
And the second time, well, I kind of... The second time was the occasion where NHK people were around, so
I
I
see,
gave a short interview and left, and then I went to the closest train station, spent
Yes.
like an hour there, and decided that probably it's not the best time.
That's what my
returned the
wife
same day, yeah,
always
yeah.
did during the first years of our marriage.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you spent a couple of hours at the train station and came back.
Yeah, essentially.
And what did Docho-san, the abbess, say the second time?
I cannot remember easily, but yeah, it doesn't seem like she was that surprised for the second time.
I see.
Yeah, well, for the third time at the spring, I've left like, well, for a long time. I took my plane, I spent like 4 or 5 months in my home country, and
Yes.
yeah, decided to come in a bit more,
Yes.
how do you call it,
Mm-hmm.
in a bit more determined way.
So Antaiji for you was also kind of a disappointment if you left 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends on what you expect from Antaiji.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, probably it's not as much about being disappointment in terms of the practice which is being done,
Yes.
but in terms of the meaning to, well, practice to do Zen in the first place. Because especially in case of Zen, it's
Yes.
being said that while the emptiness is important, the form is also important.
Yes.
And in this case, does it make any sense to stay in the monastery in the first place if you can do some kind of decent social life activity, whatever? Like for me, it was science, and I was thinking about returning to science. But yeah, eventually I didn't like what I've seen in my home country as well, like in terms of science and in terms of not science as well.
I see. So how many years did you stay in Antaiji altogether?
I think it's, in terms of like pure time, it's a bit more than 3 years, like
Yes.
maybe exactly 3 years, and in terms of like from the day coming to the day leaving, it's maybe 3.5 years.
I see. And after Antaiji, just like Myogen, you went to, Toshoji in Okayama, which is a monastery where you can do, well, not more intense training, but more formal training, and that also qualifies you
Yeah.
to become a teacher. How long have you been in Toshoji now? 1 year, 2 years?
Yeah, well, the last year, 17th of January, I've arrived there.
Yes.
And well, it's about 1 year and 1 month.
So it's the
also.
start
Yeah,
of your
yeah.
second year.
The last year I took around 1 month to spend in Antaiji, but
Yeah.
that's it. Except for this, I didn't have a lot of occasions to get out of Toshoji.
So how does Toshoji feel? How is it also in comparison to Antaiji?
Well, it's definitely less demanding physically, and after Antaiji probably psychologically.
Yes.
But it has a lot of ceremonies, which for many people wouldn't make a lot of sense to perform in the
Yes.
first place.
Yeah. How much zazen is there in the morning, in the evening?
It's probably not that bad if you compare to other temples and other training temples. Like on the usual basis, it's 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening.
Yes.
Also, depending on ceremonies or depending on upcoming events, the evening zazen can be replaced for like studying, training some ceremonies or even some summer. And there are also some sessions on the very occasional basis. Probably it was like 4 or 5 during the whole year. And in that case, there are still some ceremonies, and well, in total it's like 9 or 10 hours of zazen per day.
During the session,
Yeah.
9 to 10 hours. Okay. Do you have any recommendations for people that watch this right now that want to come to Japan to train in Antaiji or Toshoji? What kind of preparations should they do?
Yeah, well, one thing is that Toshoji is kind of designed to be fit for the way wider range of people than Antaiji is. So Antaiji has this, well, rather strict limitations about the age, the ability to speak Japanese. Well, some experience in agriculture, although it's not that important. In Toshoji, it doesn't matter that much. So there is a number of people who are in the 50s or 60s, and it's well, it's not getting easier to practice, but in case of Toshoji, it's not that demanding, and it's way less summer. And the same in terms of speaking Japanese. So. The most of foreigners are coming for like really short term, like 3 months or 6 months, and they wouldn't speak any amount of Japanese, and that's completely okay.
Okay.
And yeah, well, some basic knowledge in terms of Buddhism is probably advised to have in both Antaiji and Toshoji, but yeah. Especially in case of Toshoji, the most of stuff will be explained on the spot as well. And yeah, the only thing is that it's not that easy to get there because they don't have a website, and the most of people coming are already ordained by some teacher.
Okay.
But yeah, if you have contacts, then you can try and write.